2 weeks had passed since the Minerva crisis. 2 weeks of intense meetings, difficult conversations, and hard negotiations. Tai-Ho felt tired as he prepared for the special council session that would start in 1 hour. But it was a good kind of tired, the feeling of having done important work. He looked around his office. It was different now, larger, with a better view of Unity's beautiful gardens. A small change, but a meaningful one. The council had moved the human delegation to offices that matched those of older species. It was a symbol of humanity's new status. There was a knock at the door and his team entered. They too looked tired but satisfied. "The last agreements are ready to sign," Jiwoo said, placing a tablet on Tai-Ho's desk. "Earth Central Command has approved them." "All of them?" Tai-Ho asked, surprised. "Even the technology-sharing provisions?" Do-hyun nodded. "Yes," the president said, and I quote, "We've shown our teeth. Now let's show our heart." Tai-Ho smiled. That sounded like President Sung-ho Park, always balancing strength with kindness. "What about the other young species?" Tai-Ho asked. "Will they support the new structure?" "All 28 have confirmed," Hye-jin reported. "They're very excited about having more representation in council decisions." "And the older species?" Tai-Ho asked, knowing this was the real challenge. "Mixed," Jiwoo admitted. "The Morosi and Ardani are on board. They've had time to think, and they see the benefits of change. Some others are still resistant. And the Dreth? Commander Zira has been surprisingly helpful," Do-hyun said. "I think the Imperium realized they pushed too far. They're trying to rebuild their reputation." Tai-Ho stood up and straightened his uniform. The silver Earth emblem gleamed on his chest, just as it had 2 weeks ago. But everything else had changed. "Let's go make history," he said. The council chamber was full when they arrived. Every species had sent representatives to witness this special session. The mood was solemn but not tense, more like people facing an important moment and knowing it. Highest Speaker Ileana called the session to order. Her silver form seemed to glow more brightly today. "We are here to vote on the proposed reforms to council structure and procedures," she announced. "These changes are significant, the most extensive in over 2,000 years. Before we vote, Ambassador Kim has asked to address the council." Tai-Ho walked to the center of the chamber. He looked up at the hundreds of alien faces watching him. It was strange to think that just weeks ago many of these beings had barely noticed humans. Now they listened carefully to every word. "Honored Council," Tai-Ho began. "2 weeks ago I stood in this spot and revealed that humans had been hiding our true capabilities. Many of you felt betrayed. Some were angry. Others were afraid." He paused, looking around the chamber. "I understand those feelings. If our roles were reversed, I might feel the same way. But today I want to explain why we did what we did, and why the changes we're voting on today matter so much." Tai-Ho took a small device from his pocket and activated it. A holographic image appeared, showing Earth. "This is our home. For most of our history, we fought each other over resources, land, power, or simply fear of those who were different. We nearly destroyed ourselves more than once." The image changed to show scenes of human history, wars, but also moments of peace and cooperation. But we learned. Slowly, painfully, we learned that cooperation works better than conflict. That diversity makes us stronger, not weaker. That respecting others doesn't mean giving up our own identity or interests. The image shifted again, showing humanity's first steps into space. When we reached the stars and met other intelligent life, we hoped to find a community that had learned these same lessons. In many ways, we did. The Council has kept peace among hundreds of species for thousands of years. That is a remarkable achievement. Tai-Ho looked directly at Elder Crystal. But we also found a community that sometimes valued tradition over progress, that judged species by their age rather than their character or contributions. That allowed power to concentrate in the hands of a few. The hologram changed to show Minerva, the human colony that had nearly been lost. 2 weeks ago, these flaws in the council system nearly cost 10,000 lives. Not because most of you wished harm to my people, but because the system wasn't designed to listen to young species or act quickly when needed. Taeho switched off the hologram and spread his hands. The reforms we're voting on today aren't about giving humans more power. They're about making the council work better for everyone. Faster response to emergencies, more voices in decision-making, better checks on those with power. These changes will benefit all species, old and young alike. He looked around the chamber one more time. Humans hit our strength because we felt we had to. We played by rules that were stacked against us. Today, we're asking for new rules, fair ones that serve everyone. If we pass these reforms, I promise that Earth will never again need to hide or deceive. We will be full and open partners in this great community of worlds. As Taeho returned to his place, the chamber was quiet. Then, one by one, representatives began to signal their wish to speak. Elder Crystal went first. His crystal body shimmered, with blue and green lights, colors that showed thoughtfulness rather than anger. The Ardani have existed for 12,000 years, he said. We have seen many young species rise and fall. Often we dismissed their ideas as naive or impractical. He paused, his crystal form chiming softly. But perhaps this was our mistake. Perhaps in our long lives we have forgotten how to change, how to see with new eyes. He turned to face Taeho directly. The humans deceived us, yes, but they also showed us a mirror, reflecting our own arrogance and complacency back at us. The Ardani will support these reforms. Next came Commander Zira of the Dreth. Her scales gleamed in the chamber's light as she stood. The Dreth Imperium has long prided itself on strength, she said. We respected other strong species, but had little time for those we saw as weak. Her yellow eyes swept the chamber. The humans have taught us an important lesson. True strength isn't about weapons or territory. It's about patience, preparation, doing what must be done to protect your people, but no more than that. She nodded to Taeho. The humans could have attacked our homeworlds when they revealed their fleet. They did not. They protected their colony but sought no revenge. This is a strength the Dreth can respect. We too support these reforms. One by one, representatives spoke. Most supported the changes. Some had concerns or wanted modifications. A few opposed them entirely. But as the hours passed, it became clear which way the vote would go. Finally, highest speaker Ileana called for the formal vote. The results appeared above her, a clear majority in favor of the reforms. The motion passes, she announced. These changes will take effect immediately. The chamber filled with the sounds of hundreds of different species reacting, some with joy, some with resignation, most with a sense that something important had happened. As the session ended, many representatives approached the human team to offer congratulations or discuss next steps. Among them was a young Morosi, much younger than Ileana, though still 300 years old. Ambassador Kim, she said, her silver form glowing softly. I wanted to thank you. For what? Taeho asked. For showing all of us that change is possible. My species is old, set in our ways. But seeing humans stand up to the council, it gives hope to those of us who have wanted reforms for a long time. After the crowds had thinned, Taeho and his team walked outside to the gardens. The beautiful plants from 100 worlds grew, together there, each in their own way but creating something greater together. So, Dohyun said, what happens now? Taeho looked up at the stars just becoming visible as twilight fell. Now we build something better. Together. Hyejin smiled. No more pretending to be less than we are. No more fake smiles, Taeho agreed. From now on, when humans smile in the council, it will be real. Jiwoo looked thoughtful. Will it work? These reforms, this new approach? I don't know, Taeho admitted. Building trust after deception is never easy. Some species will take time to accept us as equals. Others may never fully trust humans again. He watched as aliens of many species walked through the garden, some now nodding respectfully to the humans as they passed. But we've made a start. We've shown who we really are, not just our strength, but our desire for peace, our willingness to forgive, our hope for a better future. As night fell on Unity, news of the Council's decision spread across the galaxy. On 200 worlds, beings of all kinds discussed what it meant. On ships traveling between the stars, crews wondered how the changes would affect them. And on Earth, humans looked up at the night sky with new pride, knowing their place in the universe had forever changed. The next day, Taiho received a message from his sister on Minerva. The colony was rebuilding, with help now from several alien species who had sent aid. The message ended with words that made Taiho smile. The aliens are actually pretty nice when they're not trying to steal our planet. Some of them were surprised when I invited them to dinner. I guess they thought humans would be angry forever. I told them we're complicated that way. We can be fierce when we need to be, but we'd rather be friends. Just not the kind of friends who let others push them around. The news spread through the galaxy like wildfire. On 200 worlds, aliens watched recordings of the council meeting where the humans had finally shown their true face. They saw the shock of Supreme Commander Voss when his secret plans were exposed. They saw the humans reveal military technology that no one knew they had. They saw the old balance of power start to shift. In their office in the council building, Taiho and his team were busy. Messages came in constantly from Earth, from the fleet heading to Minerva, and from alien representatives suddenly eager to talk to the humans. Another message from the Ardani, Do-hyun said, looking at his screen. Elder Crystal wants a private meeting. Taiho nodded. Tell him we'll meet tomorrow. Today we focus on Minerva. Hyejin was studying her tablet. Our fleet will reach Minerva in 4 hours. The scout ships report that Dreth forces are still there, but they're loading onto their ships. Are they hurting any colonists? Taiho asked, his face tense. No reports of that, Hyejin said. I think they're just trying to leave before our fleet arrives. Jiwoo put down her communicator. Earth Central Command wants to know our next steps. The president is worried that we've started something we can't finish. Taiho looked out the window at the beautiful gardens of Unity. Aliens of many species walked there, some glancing up at the human office with new interest. We didn't start this, Taiho said. But yes, we need to think carefully about what comes next. Just then, the door opened. Highest Speaker Ileana floated into the room, alone. This was unusual. The leader of the council rarely visited anyone. Others came to her. Ambassador Kim, she said. Her silver skin seemed duller than usual, as if she was tired. May we speak privately? Taiho gestured to his team, who left the room quietly. When they were alone, Ileana spoke again. In 5,000 years of serving on the council, I have rarely been surprised. Today I was surprised. I apologize for the deception, Taiho said, though his voice didn't sound very sorry. Do you? Ileana asked, her head tilting slightly. I don't think you do. And perhaps you shouldn't. The council, we have not been fair to your species. Taiho raised his eyebrows. This was unexpected. The older species, Ileana continued, we have grown comfortable, set in our ways. We look at young species and see only children, not equals. Children who should be seen and not heard, Taiho said. Yes, it is a failing in us. Ileana's silver eyes looked into Taiho's. But hiding your true strength, spying on council members, these are serious matters, Ambassador. So is attacking our colony, Taiho replied. So is knowing about that attack and doing nothing to stop it. Many on the council did not know, Ileana said. I give you my word on that. Some did, yes. The corruption you speak of is real. But not all of us are part of it. Taiho nodded slowly. I believe you. But you must understand our position. Earth cannot, will not, go back to being the polite child in the corner. No, Ileana agreed. That time is past. Now we must find a new way forward. After she left, Taiho's team returned. What did she want? Jiwoo asked. To understand, Taiho said, and maybe to make peace. Can we trust her? Hyejin asked. I'm not sure we can trust anyone right now, Taiho said, but we should try to rebuild some bridges, even as we stand our ground. 4 hours later, they received the news they had been waiting for. The human fleet had reached Minerva. The Dreth forces were gone, having left just an hour earlier. The colony was safe. "I want to speak to the colony leaders," Tai-Ho said. Soon, a face appeared on their screen. It was a woman who looked a lot like Tai-Ho, his sister, Ji-hye Kim. She had a cut on her forehead and looked tired, but she was smiling. "About time you sent help, brother," she said. Tai-Ho felt tears in his eyes, but blinked them away. "Are you okay? Are the colonists safe?" "We lost 23 people when they first attacked," Ji-hye said, her smile fading. "But the rest of us are okay. The Dreth wanted our mines intact, so they didn't bomb us. They just rounded everyone up." "What happened exactly?" Hyejin asked. "They came with 15 ships," Ji-hye explained. "Said they were doing a special inspection, ordered by the council. When our leaders asked to confirm this with Earth, they stopped pretending and took over the colony. They were very interested in our new mineral finds. The liridium deposits," Tai-Ho nodded. "Liridium was rare and valuable for making certain kinds of spaceship parts. Yes, they were already setting up their own mining operation when we got word that help was coming." Ji-hye smiled again. "Some of us managed to break out and retake the communication center. The Dreth commander was furious, but then he got new orders to leave immediately. He was in quite a hurry after that." "I wonder why," Ji-woo said with a small smile. After talking with Ji-hye a bit longer, they ended the call. Tai-Ho sat back in, his chair looking relieved but thoughtful. "So what now?" Do-hyun asked. "The crisis is over, but everything has changed. Now we deal with the consequences," Tai-Ho said, "and there will be many." He was right. Over the next 3 days, the effects of humanity's revelations rippled through the galaxy. The Dreth Imperium, embarrassed by the exposure of their failed operation, announced that Supreme Commander Voss had retired from his position. His replacement, Commander Zira, was known as a moderate who had argued for better relations with humans. Several other council representatives were also suddenly replaced by their governments. No official reasons were given, but it was clear that those who had known about the Dreth plan and done nothing were being removed. Most surprising were the messages that came flooding in from younger species in the council, those who, like humans, had joined in the last few hundred years. Their representatives asked for meetings, sent congratulations, or simply expressed admiration for how Earth had stood up to the older powers. "We're becoming a symbol," Do-hyun said as he sorted through the messages. "The young species who fought back." "That could be useful," Ji-woo noted. "Allies make us stronger." But not all reactions were positive. Some of the older, more powerful species were clearly alarmed by humanity's deception and newfound confidence. Their messages were cold and formal, or they didn't send messages at all. "They're reevaluating us," Hyejin said, "trying to figure out if we're a threat or a potential partner." On the 4th day after the confrontation, a full council meeting was called. The chamber was packed. Every species had sent representatives. The mood was tense as Tai-Ho and his team took their place in the center. Highest Speaker Ileana opened the meeting. "We are here to discuss recent events and their implications for the council. Ambassador Kim, would you like to speak first?" Tai-Ho stood, looking around at the hundreds of alien faces. Some looked angry, some curious, some afraid. "Thank you, Highest Speaker. First, I want to report that the colony on Minerva is safe. The human fleet remains there to ensure its protection, but all Dreth forces have withdrawn." He paused, then continued. "I also want to make Earth's position clear. We came to the stars hoping for friendship, cooperation, and mutual respect. We still want those things, but we will no longer accept being treated as lesser beings. We will no longer smile and bow while our interests are ignored or our people threatened." Supreme Commander Voss's replacement, Commander Zira, stood. Unlike Voss, her scales were a lighter green, and her voice was calmer. "The Dreth Imperium wishes to formally apologize for the unauthorized military action on Minerva," she said. "Those responsible have been removed from their positions. We seek peaceful relations with Earth going forward." Murmurs filled the chamber. The Dreth rarely apologized for anything. Elder Crystal spoke next. "The humans have deceived us all. They have spied on council members and hidden their true capabilities. How can we trust them now? The same way we trusted you, Taiho replied, carefully and with open eyes. Every species in this chamber has secrets. Every government has hidden agendas. We are no different, except that we were honest about one thing, our desire for peace. That has never changed. The debate continued. For hours. Some representatives argued for punishing Earth for its deception. Others suggested that new rules were needed for everyone. A few even proposed that humanity's actions showed why younger species needed more voice in council decisions. Through it all, Taiho and his team stood firm. No more fake smiles, no more pretending to accept unfair treatment. They spoke as equals, not as newcomers grateful for a seat at the table. By the end of the day, one thing was clear to everyone in the chamber. The galaxy had changed. A new balance of power was forming, and humanity would never again be dismissed as just another young, weak species finding its way among the stars. The council chamber had never been so quiet. 200 alien representatives stared at the small group of humans in the center. For 3 years, they had seen these humans bow and smile. Now something had changed. What did you say? Elder, Crystal finally asked, his crystalline body now a dull gray color that showed his shock. I said that ends today, Taiho repeated. We will no longer pretend to be less than we are to make you comfortable. Supreme Commander Voss stepped forward, his clawed hand moving to the weapon at his side. You dare to threaten the council? Your primitive species is barely out of its caves. Jiwoo Park moved slightly, placing herself between Voss and Taiho. Her hand didn't move to a weapon. Humans weren't allowed to carry them in the council chambers, but something in her stance made several aliens step back. We are not threatening anyone, Taiho said calmly. We are simply done pretending, done playing a game where the rules are set against us. Highest Speaker Ileana floated forward. Ambassador Kim, please. This behavior does not help your cause. Return to your usual diplomatic self and we can discuss this reasonably. We tried reason, Taiho said. We tried diplomacy. Meanwhile, the Dreth were planning to take our colony, and the council knew about it. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many species looked uncomfortable. This is slander, Voss hissed. Is it? Hyejin stepped forward, holding her tablet. I have here communications between Dreth military commanders, planning the Minerva operation. Communications from 6 months ago. How did you get those? Voss demanded, his scales now dark with rage. Those are private military communications. Do-hyun Lee smiled slightly. We have been learning from watching you. The implications of this statement sent another wave of shock through the chamber. Had the humans been spying on council members? For 3 years, Taiho continued, we have had intelligence operatives gathering information from every major council species. Insurance, you might say. We knew that many of you saw our politeness as weakness, so we prepared. Elder Crystal's crystal body made a sharp sound like breaking glass. This is against all council laws. Espionage between members is forbidden. Yet everyone does it, Taiho replied. We found evidence of 17 separate plots against human interests, plots that the council knew about but did nothing to stop. Now many representatives were looking away, unable to meet Taiho's eyes. You should understand something about humans, Taiho said, addressing the entire chamber. Our history is full of war, conflict. For thousands of years we fought each other. Only recently did we find peace among ourselves. But those instincts, to prepare, to defend, to fight when necessary, they are still with us. He walked slowly around the center of the chamber, looking up at the alien faces surrounding him. When we came to the stars, we hoped for a better way. We hoped to find wisdom, cooperation. Instead, we found the same old power games, the same politics, the same threats, just hidden behind prettier words. So we played along. We smiled. We bowed. We said thank you when you gave us scraps of outdated technology. We accepted small insults and unfair treatment. But all the while, we were watching, learning, preparing. Hyejin touched her tablet again, and a new image appeared in the air. It showed technical specifications for the human fleet now heading to Minerva. The weapon systems, speed, and defensive capabilities were far beyond what the humans had previously shown to the Council. "We took the technology you shared," Hyejin explained, "and improved it. We combined it with our own ideas. We built ships in secret locations. We trained crews away from watching eyes." "Impossible," one alien representative said. "Your species does not have the knowledge to do this." Hyejin smiled. "You would be surprised what humans can do when we work together." Supreme Commander Voss slammed his fist down on the table in front of him. "This is an act of war. The human fleet must be stopped before it reaches Minerva." "I wouldn't advise that," Jiwoo said quietly. "Our ships have orders to defend themselves, if attacked. And they are very good at it." The tension in the room was thick enough to touch. Taeho could see many representatives sending urgent messages to their governments. Good. Let them worry for a change. Highest speaker. Ileana raised her hands, calling for calm. "This situation is unprecedented. Ambassador Kim, surely you understand that sending an unauthorized military force into Council space is extremely serious." "We understand." Taeho nodded. "Just as attacking a human colony is extremely serious. The fleet will secure Minerva and protect our people. Nothing more." "And if Dreth ships are found there?" Voss demanded. "Then they will be given one chance. To leave," Taeho said simply. Voss made a sound like steam escaping. "You would dare to threaten Dreth military vessels? We have been spacefaring for 8,000 years. Our fleet is the largest in the Council." Taeho looked at him calmly. "Size isn't everything, Supreme Commander. Quality matters too. Would you like a demonstration?" Before Voss could respond, Hyejin's tablet beeped. She looked at it, then showed it to Taeho. "It seems the Dreth are already giving us a demonstration," Taeho announced. 3 Dreth warships just fired on our advanced scout ship near Minerva." The chamber erupted again in voices, some angry, some afraid. "What happened?" Elder Crystal demanded. "The scout ship defended itself," Taeho said. 2 Dreth vessels have been disabled. The 3rd retreated." "Impossible," Voss shouted. "A scout ship cannot defeat Dreth warships." "This one did," Taeho replied. "Would you like to see the footage?" Without waiting for an answer, Hyejin brought up a new image. It showed a small human ship, sleek and fast, facing off against 3 much larger Dreth vessels. The human ship moved with incredible speed, its weapons cutting through the Dreth shields as if they weren't there. In less than a minute, 2 Dreth ships were floating dead in space, their lights dark. The 3rd jumped away into hyperspace. The Council chamber was completely silent now. The implications were clear. If a human scout ship could do this, what could their dreadnoughts do? "You've been hiding your true capabilities," Highest Speaker Ileana said softly. "All this time." "Yes," Taeho admitted. "We showed you what we wanted you to see, just as you have done to us." "Why reveal yourselves now?" Elder Crystal asked. "Why not continue your deception?" Taeho's face hardened. "Because my sister is on Minerva. Because 10,000 human lives are at risk. Because some things are more important than games of politics and power." He turned to face Supreme Commander Voss directly. "You have 3 hours to order all Dreth forces to withdraw from Minerva. After that, our fleet will remove them." Voss's yellow eyes narrowed. "You cannot give orders to the Dreth Imperium." "I just did," Taeho said simply. The tension between them was broken when another human aide rushed into the chamber. She whispered urgently to Jiwoo, who then spoke quietly to Taeho. His face showed surprise, then satisfaction. "It seems," Taeho announced to the Council, "that we have just received a message from Minerva. A resistance group led by colony leaders has managed to retake the main communication center. They report that Dreth forces have taken control of the mining operations and have moved colonists to holding areas." He looked at Voss. "They also report that the Dreth commander is telling his troops that this operation was approved by the Council. Is that true, Supreme Commander? Did the Council approve an attack on a human colony?" Now all eyes turned to Voss, whose scales had gone pale. He looked around the chamber, meeting the suspicious gazes of his fellow council members. There has been a misunderstanding, Voss said finally. The operation was meant to be a peaceful inspection. If some commanders exceeded their orders— Save your lies, Taiho said, his voice hard as steel. We have recordings of your orders. Would you like me to play them for the council? Voss looked around the chamber again, saw no allies, and made a decision. The Dreth Imperium will withdraw its forces from Minerva immediately, he said. This was a mistake. A mistake that almost cost 10,000 lives, Taiho said. A mistake the council knew about but did nothing to prevent. He turned to address the entire chamber once more. For 3 years, we have played by your rules. Now you will learn to play by ours. Earth remains committed to peace, to cooperation, but never again at the cost of our dignity or the safety of our people. As the council session broke apart in confusion and urgent discussions, Taiho and his team walked out with heads held high. No bowing, no smiles meant to please others, just the straight backs and clear eyes of people who had finally stopped pretending to be less than they were. So, what happens now? Do-hyun asked quietly as they walked. Taiho looked at him. Now we see who our real friends are. Now we find out who can accept humans as equals, not as children to be patted on the head. And if they can't accept that? Hyejin asked. Then they'll learn to, Jiwoo said, a small smile on her face. One way or another. 6 hours after the council meeting, Taiho and his team sat in their small office in the great council building. The room was plain, much smaller than those given to older, more powerful species. But right now, that didn't matter. What mattered was the screen on the wall showing the face of General Min-jae Kang, head of Earth's Defense Force. We've sent scout ships to Minerva, the general said. His face was grim. They should arrive in 10 hours. And the battle fleet? Jiwoo asked. As security chief, she worked closely with the military. On standby, General Kang answered. But, we can't send them without council approval. Not yet, it would break too many rules. Taiho nodded. I understand, but be ready. I don't think the council will act quickly enough. After the call ended, Do-hyun looked at Taiho with worry. What do we do now? We try the diplomatic approach one more time, Taiho said. I've called for an emergency meeting of the council. Will they come? Hyejin asked. Some will, Taiho said. Enough to matter. 4 hours later, Taiho stood again in the council chamber. It was much emptier now. Many species had not bothered to send representatives to hear the humans' concerns. But some important ones were there. Highest Speaker Ileana of the Morosi, Elder Crystal of the Ardani, and Supreme Commander Voss of the Dreth Imperium. Thank you for coming on such short notice, Taiho began. He still spoke politely, but there was a new edge to his voice. We have received new information about our colony on Minerva. He nodded to Hyejin, who touched her tablet. A large screen appeared in the center of the room. On it was a blurry video. The image showed people running. There were flashes of light. And there were ships, warships, in the sky above a small settlement. This was sent just before all communication was lost, Taiho explained. We've enhanced the images of the ships. The picture zoomed in on one of the ships. The shape was distinctive, long and curved like a claw, with green lights along its side. Supreme Commander Voss made a hissing sound. You dare to accuse the Dreth Imperium? I'm not accusing anyone, Taiho said calmly. I am showing you what we received. Can you explain why ships that look like Dreth warships are above our colony? Voss stood up, his scales darkening with anger. Those could be the ships of any species or fakes created by you humans to gain sympathy. Elder Crystal's crystalline body chimed softly as he moved. The Supreme Commander makes a good point. This evidence is unclear, and even if these are Dreth ships, perhaps they were responding to some threat. Perhaps your colonists were breaking council mining laws. Taiho felt anger rising inside him. His sister was on that planet, his sister and 10,000 other humans, but he kept his face calm. "We ask the Council to send investigators immediately," he said, "and we request that all military ships near Minerva withdraw at once." Highest Speaker Ileana floated forward slightly. "Ambassador Kim, we understand your concern, but the Council must follow proper procedures. We cannot act on such little evidence." "How much evidence do you need?" Jiwoo asked, stepping forward. 10,000 lives are at risk." "Peace Security Chief," Ileana said, her voice still calm. "The Council has existed for 12,000 years by following its rules. We will discuss this matter and take appropriate action." "When?" Taiho asked. "As I said before, we will meet. In 3 standard days to—" "That's too long," Taiho interrupted. The room went silent. Humans never interrupted in council meetings. It wasn't done. By then, everyone on Minerva could be dead. Supreme Commander Voss made a sound like a laugh. "Always so dramatic, you humans, always rushing. This is why young species are not ready for the responsibilities of full council membership." Taiho looked at Voss for a long moment. Then he turned to address the whole council. "Honored Council," he said, his voice now perfectly controlled. "I respectfully request emergency intervention on Minerva. I request that a peacekeeping force be sent within 12 hours. Murmurs filled the chamber. 12 hours? Impossible. Council forces took days or weeks to mobilize. "Ambassador," Elder Crystal said, "what you ask cannot be done. The Council is not a rapid response unit. We are deliberative, careful, wise." Taiho nodded as if he had expected this answer. "I understand. Then I must inform the Council that if no action is taken within 12 hours, Earth will consider this an attack on our sovereign territory. We will respond accordingly." The chamber went completely silent. In 3 years, the humans had never made demands or threats. They had always been polite, always understanding when the Council moved slowly. "Is that a threat, Ambassador?" Supreme Commander Voss asked, his voice dangerous. "Not at all," Taiho replied with the same pleasant smile he had worn for 3 years. "Merely a statement of policy. Earth has followed Council rules for 3 years. But there are 10,000 human lives at stake." Highest Speaker Ileana raised her hands. "This is most irregular, Ambassador. The Council does not respond well to ultimatums." "It is not an ultimatum," Taiho said. "It is a simple fact. If the Council will not protect our people, we must do it ourselves." The meeting broke up in confusion. As the aliens filed out, many giving the humans strange looks, Taiho gathered his team once more. "Did we just threaten the Galactic Council?" Do-hyun asked, sounding worried. "We stated our position," Taiho said. "There's a difference." Jiwoo took out her secure communicator. "Should I contact Earth Central Command?" Taiho nodded. "Send them one message. Politeness protocol terminated." Jiwoo's eyes widened slightly. "Are you sure?" "Once we do this—" "I'm sure," Taiho said. "They need to understand we're not just going to smile and bow while our people die." As Jiwoo sent the message, Taiho walked to the window. The council building was on a beautiful planet called Unity, chosen because its atmosphere could support most species. Outside, representatives from 200 different alien civilizations walked, floated, or slithered past. Most of them still saw humans as newcomers barely worth notice. That was about to change. 8 hours later, the council reconvened. More representatives had arrived, drawn by rumors of the humans' unusual behavior. Taiho and his team took their place in the center of the chamber. Highest Speaker Ileana spoke first. "The council has reached a decision. We will send observers to Minerva within 3 days, and we ask the Dreth Imperium, as a gesture of goodwill, to withdraw any ships that might be in that sector." Supreme Commander Voss nodded reluctantly. "We have no ships there officially, but if any patrol vessels have strayed near human territory, they will be recalled." Taiho listened calmly. Then he stood. "I appreciate the council's efforts, but as I mentioned, we required action within 12 hours. That deadline expires in 4 hours. Highest Speaker Ileana made a dismissive gesture. "Ambassador Kim, surely you understand that interstellar diplomacy requires flexibility." We have been flexible for 3 years, Taiho replied, but not at the cost of human lives. Just then, a young human aide rushed into the chamber. She handed Taiho a small device. He read the message on it, his face showing no reaction. But Do-hyun, standing behind him, paled visibly. I have just been informed, Taiho announced to the council, that the Earth Defense Fleet has mobilized 6 Dreadnought-class vessels and their support ships will reach Minerva in approximately 20 hours. Impossible, Supreme Commander Voss roared, standing up so quickly that his chair fell over. Your species has only 2 such vessels. This is what you reported to the council. A small cold smile appeared on Taiho's face, an expression none of the council members had ever seen before. That was what we reported in our mandatory fleet disclosure. Yes. The room erupted in shocked voices. The humans had been hiding their true military strength. This was against all council rules. You lied to the council? Elder Crystal asked, his crystal body now pulsing with angry red light. We were selective in what we shared, Taiho replied, just as every other species has been. This is an outrage, Voss shouted. This is why primitive species cannot be trusted. Taiho turned to face the Dreth commander directly. Speaking of trust, Supreme Commander, would you like me to share what we know about your peacekeeping operation on Minerva? About the orders you gave to secure the planet's mineral resources? About the fact that this operation was planned 6 months ago? The chamber went silent again. Voss's yellow eyes narrowed to slits. You are making dangerous accusations, human, he hissed. Not accusations, Taiho said. Facts. Facts we can prove. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes or eye equivalents of each council member. For 3 years we have played by your rules. We have been polite, patient, respectful, and in return, you have dismissed us, insulted us, and now attacked our people. His voice grew harder with each word. That ends today. Ambassador Taiho Kim took a deep breath as he straightened his dark blue uniform. The silver earth emblem on his chest caught the light as he prepared to enter the great chamber. Behind him, his small team waited silently. They all knew what was at stake today. Remember, Taiho said quietly, smile and bow, no matter what they say. Security Chief Jiwoo Park nodded, her face calm but her eyes alert. She had been a soldier before becoming a diplomat, and sometimes Taiho could still see the warrior in her careful movements. 3 years of smiling, said Do-hyun Lee, the cultural expert on their team. My face hurts. He smiled as he said it, practicing the expression he would wear for the next few hours. Science advisor Hye-jin Choi checked her data tablet one last time. The Ardani representative will speak first. They always do, and they will probably mention how young our species is. Again, all 4 humans said together and shared a quick laugh. The massive doors in front of them slid open silently. Beyond lay the great chamber of the Galactic Council, a huge round room with seats rising up like a bowl turned upside down. Each seat held a representative from a different alien species. Some looked almost human. Others were so different that humans had trouble understanding how they even thought. The room fell quiet as Taiho and his team walked to the center. 200 different alien species watched them, some with many eyes, some with none at all. The human delegation is recognized, said a soft voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. This was highest speaker Ileana, the leader of the council meetings. She looked almost human except for her silvery skin and the fact that she floated a few inches above her seat. Her species, the Morosi, were known for their mental powers and their age. The youngest Morosi was over 500 years old. Taiho bowed deeply. Honored Council, we thank you for this audience. From his high seat, Elder Crystal of the Ardani made a sound like breaking glass. This was how his crystalline species laughed. The human thanks us. How charming, Elder Crystal said. His body sparkled with many colors as he spoke. Tell me, human, how long has your species been traveling in space? 50 years now? Taiho kept his smile firmly in place. This was an old game. The Ardani had been in space for over 10,000 years. They never missed a chance to remind the humans of this fact. 53 standard years, Elder, Taiho answered politely. We are young, but eager to learn from the wisdom of the Council. More glass-breaking laughter from Elder Crystal. Yes, so very young. My own first spaceship was older than your entire civilization. Taiho just kept smiling and gave another small bow. Behind him, he knew his team was doing the same. They had all been chosen for their ability to stay calm, to take insults with a smile. Earth needed the Council. Earth needed trade, technology, and protection. We have come today, Taiho said smoothly, changing the subject, to discuss the new colony on Minerva. At this, a new voice joined the conversation. It was low and hissing like air escaping from a tire. Supreme Commander Voss of the Dreth Imperium leaned forward in his seat. The Dreth looked like giant lizards that stood on two legs. Their scales were dark green and their eyes were yellow with black slits down the middle. Many humans found them scary, but Taiho had learned to look past their appearance. Ah yes, Minerva, said Supreme Commander Voss. Your new mining colony, so close to Dreth space. There was a threat hidden in those words. The Dreth Empire was one of the largest and most powerful groups in the Council. They controlled hundreds of planets and had a huge military. And yes, Minerva was close to their territory. We have followed all Council rules in setting up this colony, Taiho said. He kept his voice friendly, but firm. Minerva is rich in minerals that Earth needs, and that others might desire, Voss said, his tongue flicking out briefly. Jiwoo Park stepped forward slightly. As security chief, this was her area. The colony has minimal defenses, as required by Council law for new settlements, she said. We trust in the protection of the Council. Many of the aliens shifted in their seats at this. Protection was a tricky subject. The Council claimed to protect all its members, but smaller or newer species often found that protection came slowly, if at all. Of course, said highest speaker Ileana, her voice soothing. The Council protects all its members equally. Behind his smile, Taiho knew this was not completely true. In the 3 years since Earth had joined the Council, humans had learned many hard lessons. The most important was that the Council ran on power. Old species with many planets had power. Young species like humans had very little. But Earth had something many wanted. A planet rich in resources, positioned in a useful location in space. This gave humans some small power in Council matters. Not much, but enough to have a voice. The colony on Minerva has 10,000 human settlers now, Hyejin Choi said, reading from her tablet, including many families. She looked up and smiled at the Council. My own sister is there with her husband and 2 children. Do-hyun Lee stepped forward next. We have prepared a cultural exchange program. Many Council species have expressed interest in human art, music, and food. We believe Minerva could become a place where many cultures meet and share ideas. This was diplomacy, finding things that different groups could agree on. The humans had become good at it. Always polite, always helpful, never showing anger or frustration. What the Council did not know, what Taiho and his team were careful never to show, was how much anger they sometimes felt. The small insults, the threats barely hidden behind smiles, the constant reminders that humans were young and primitive, these things were hard to bear, but Earth needed the Council. So they smiled and bowed and said thank you when they really wanted to shout. The meeting continued for several hours, discussing trade routes, technology sharing, which mostly meant humans getting outdated alien tech, and other matters. Taiho and his team answered questions, made suggestions, and always stayed polite. As they were finishing, a small human woman in a communications uniform rushed into the chamber. This was unusual. No one interrupted Council meetings. The woman hurried to Taiho and whispered in his ear. Taiho's face changed for just a moment. Something cold and hard appeared in his eyes, then was quickly hidden away. But Hyejin had seen it, and she felt a chill. She had seen that look before. during the resource wars back on Earth. Honored Council, Taiho said, his voice still perfectly calm. I have just received news that we have lost contact with our colony on Minerva. All communications have stopped. The council chamber went silent. Probably just a technical problem, Elder Crystal said dismissively. Your human technology is so basic. Perhaps, Taiho said. But the last message we received was a partial distress call. Supreme Commander Voss leaned forward, his yellow eyes fixed on Taiho. What kind of distress? The message was cut off, Taiho said. But it mentioned ships entering the planet's atmosphere, ships that did not identify themselves. Now the chamber was filled with murmurs and clicks and whistles as the different species talked among themselves. I respectfully request, Taiho said, his voice rising slightly to be heard over the noise, that the council send investigators immediately. My sister is among the colonists. Highest speaker, Ileana raised her hands for quiet. The council must discuss this matter before taking action. Perhaps it is nothing. Perhaps it is pirates. We will reconvene in 3 standard days to decide a course of action. 3 days? Jiwoo Park said, forgetting protocol in her surprise. But the colony could be in danger now. The council has procedures, Elder Crystal said coldly. You humans are always in such a hurry. As the meeting ended, Taiho gathered his team in a small room away from alien ears. What do we do? Do-hyun asked. 3 days could be too late. Taiho looked at each of them. His face was still calm, but his eyes had changed again. The polite diplomat was gone. Something else had taken his place. Contact Earth Central Command, he said to Jiwoo. Use the secure channel. Tell them it's time to show the council who we really are.